What's up, guys? This is going to be an all signs February reading. You can basically apply this to love and money or whatever topic at hand wants to come out for this reading. I'm simply following the narrative, I'm simply following the storyline of the reading, the stream of consciousness, the stream of conscious thought, all that stuff. So without further ado, spirit of gratitude, joy, love, and light, highest possible messages at this time. Spirit of gratitude, joy, love, and light, highest possible messages at this time. So let's see what wants to come out. Out here. I'm not bending down and reaching for that card. I'm just not. Okay, we got justice in the reverse. Feeling as though maybe you're not being compensated properly. You're not getting back what you're putting out. And that could happen if you are experiencing some sort of like charge methodology, meaning, in order for like a great big sum to come in, a wave has to charge and build up. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse here, the Moon card in the upright, water reference, emotion. Okay, the Wheel of Fortune in reverse speaks to lack of expansion, lack of travel, lack of space with distance. So it's almost as if something's kind of being concentrated. The Two of Wands in the reverse. This is, again, lack of going out. Lack of this kind of big picture vision. I'm wondering if that is a detriment. Or are you better suited and served here for almost like this kind of great big overcoming, overachieving, over accomplishment here with the Justice in reverse here. And it's almost as if, when you stay here in this position, it's almost like you're working out of it. You're working yourself out of a bad contract, or you're overcoming it to the point of financial independence and stability here with the Nine of Pentacles in the upright. And you're doing it kind of most beautifully, most poised, most swimmingly, really. Which is very cool. Because it takes character, it takes effort, it takes being in tune with your own, emotionality, with your own sexiness, with your own, because look at that, that's pretty sexy in a way. There's this kind of sexual quality, and sexual is just like it's a placeholder, because what sex is this kind of resource aggregate acquirement, right? It means that you have resources enough to pass something on, and so there's value there. We're cavemen and women, infrastructure wise, systematically. So the fact that you have this kind of appeal to you, and you doing kind of poetically or with poise whatever it is that you are doing, there's value there. So if you feel as though you're not getting something in return, well, it's almost impossible that you don't get it, because there's value there. There's no denying the value there to what you do. And again, this is just like a kind of character placeholder, what we mean by, sex appeal, or, something desirable, but it could be something non-categorically, sex physical. Again, that's just a reference to something of value. It could be courage, it could be confidence, it could be financial resources in and of themselves. It could be experience, expertise. It could be a certain, speaking to experience. It could be a level of performance, a level of grace, a level of poise, which only comes from time an experience which is in and of itself value or worth something in a kind of observer, perceiver type role, right? Sex is actually a good metaphor because it's like you see a pretty girl walking down the street, you have these embedded structures of desire. Well, why? So you could have pleasure. Well, why are you rigged to have a pleasure reward system? So you can pass your genetics. So it's for a purpose of kind of, self-subsistence, to be able to keep everything kind of safe and secure and keep on going. That's what we would call a demiurge. This thing that is encoded in us to replicate and reproduce. That is the driving force. That driving force will always be there. No need to worry. No need to worry. That driving force will always be there. You could guarantee it. But you can also hitch your wagon to it and manipulate it and not give value to, if you could self-understand, to quote-unquote sex or quote-unquote something desiresome that doesn't profit you other than profiting the genetic genes, which doesn't profit me in and of myself. So you could course correct and align that engine so as to be able to advance forward. And now I think ultimately we always kind of end up in the same goal or destination, which is, all roads lead to narcissism, to quote, the great Adam Carolla. But even in the big picture dynamic or understanding of like, I want a mansion, I want a car, I want a trophy wife, those are all still within the kind of rigged system of, something to aim for. It's almost universal. I mean, everyone has their kind of universal cliche, and it's there for a reason. But it's not as kind of universal as you would think when you have the kind of meat and kind of, arteries added to the infrastructure in the form of your own kind of personal experience and journey here, which really truly only you can appreciate. The ups and downs and everything in particular that you've experienced and overcome and been through. That's the human journey. What can we say about that? What else can you say about this? So again, to kind of extend the analogy, we talked about this big wave here coming. And we started out with it, having not seen what cards would come out, but it's almost as if there is this huge wave that you're waiting to catch, so you could ride on out into this new status of financial independence and freedom here. To another level. It's a rising tide raises all ships. So, but you have to live to see that day. You have to continue to charge and build up that damn wall, to build up that charge. Okay. And a lot of it is just timing. A lot of it is just understanding that, the demiurge works at a much more kind of frequent, frenetic, current pace. Whereas the bigger waves come in their own time. So learn to kind of dilate your time frame so as to be able to catch the wave and don't, kill yourself right before that big blessing comes in, so to speak. Don't self-sabotage, don't throw it all away, because there's no payoff in putting such kind of immediacy and urgency into your successes anyways. There really isn't. I know it's kind of sold to us as a bill of goods to kind of have sort of like maximum pleasure and resources at like the height of a certain age or the height of, but anything that's up tends to come down, and the game is always going to be sustainability in this game we call life. So no matter who reaches the highest of highs, they're going to have to level out anyways. If you're kind of, cheating and looking on someone else's desk and seeing how they're filling out their test, or looking over the other fence. So best to stay in your lane always, but really get comfortable with dilating time, and also get comfortable with, we got the star card in reverse here. Anytime the star card in reverse comes out, I think of kind of digging a well. So, it's almost as if your bottom line is raising the deeper and deeper you work on your kind of ground game too. It's like you got to work on your high flying act, and you got to work on your ground game as well, which is kind of like, two aspects or facets to this Two of Pentacles in the upright. And a good analogy for, my methodology is, I play around a lot with mantras, and I do think that in a way it's a good anchor. But just the same, I think it's cool to not have mantras, and I feel as though there are different kind of interpretations, and there are different kind of like harnessing of the human focus that come along with being able to do either or at certain levels or different times and places, because there's no denying that in this human experience there is some decree, there is some course of dialogue, there is some discourse going on between me, myself, and I. So I think a mantra is just kind of it helps to not get caught in the kind of ocean waves, maybe when life loses course or direction or meaning, or certain hardwired and programmed desires and wants, and how you thought things were. Well, when that wave doesn't come in, again, the demiurge, because the demiurge blinds us, because it moves at a much more frenetic, current, momentary, immediate place. But since we have the ability to kind of metacognize, wisdom would say, well, I'm going to be here for a while, so let these things come to me to a certain extent as well, as opposed to me just kind of, constantly putting my life on the line, or constantly putting risks or risky behavior or self-killing, jeopardizing behavior for a short thrill or something. Because to do that is to also kind of purchase into a bill of goods that this one acute kind of piercing experience will complete me. I think that's also a facade or an illusion that in the fabric of our being, we come from being dependent and being taken care of. And so at the core of our being, we are rooted in giving power away, or outsourcing our power, or vulnerability. So knowing when to perform groundwork, ground game, knowing when to turn on the mantras, knowing when to turn on the high wire act. These are all kind of mechanizations of the conservatory that is your psychic energy, your and it comes and it goes the same with eating sugar or masturbating to pornography or all of these kind of resources outlets. What are you willing to harness? What are you willing to do so as to be able to look at the camera or be able to show face or be able to communicate your worth to meet some sort of shadow of a status quo that I think we're all kind of resonating with to try to achieve or accomplish. Now, a nice question would be, well, does it exist, or are we phantom limiting it here? Well, we know something exists outside of this immediate moment, so I think that that's what we play to. And if we could play to it enough, then we could somehow manipulate it or molest it into us getting some sort of circumstance that we want. Which is the beauty of cultivating the garden of life, right? I think we have to trust certain aesthetics, certain pleasantries, certain affinities that are within us. I think we have to honor them. And that is kind of one of the fruits and the joys of life. So, not just shadowboxing, not just kind of phantom limbs or puppeteer work. These are kind of movements within us that we can surf. We can maximize, we can enjoy, we can really do something to finesse whatever circumstance we're given into this. I think that this demiurge is, the great organizer or beautifier within us. And speaking of beautifier, the planet Venus in the month of February is direct. And the ship continues to sail, the show continues to go on. Love and finances are going to get a positive push forward with Venus moving direct in Capricorn, January 29th. But the wisdom of, hey, look at this is not just all the present moment. Let's not wholesale buy into dissatisfaction or there's no God or, whatever negative self-talk you have. Let's release those and practice some sort of wisdom in laziness as well as you're waiting for certain waves to be had. I think is a nice way of putting it. Very beautiful. I like it. Okay, so I think from there we can move on to Aries. So let's do that.